A portion of today's show brought to you by Skintastic.
Well, AARP reported that men accounted for more than 1 million cosmetic procedures last year, both minimally invasive and surgical. That's actually an increase of 2% over 2010. And overall, men and women spent a total of, get this, $10.1 billion on cosmetic procedures in the U.S. last year alone. So how does this idea play into the workplace as well as career success? Well, Dr. Jeffrey Adelglass, founder and medical surgical director for Skintastic, is here to tell us more. Good to see you, doctor.
Good to see you, Courtney.
Okay, so it's not just the ladies who are wanting to get a little nip in and a little tuck in and a little inject in. It's the guys, too. Why do you think there's been such an increase in men who are getting these kind of procedures done as well?
You know, actually, we see way more women than men, but men are my best patients.
Because, hey, be careful saying that in front of one of your patients.
Oh, because they come in and they really are very focused on what they want, what bothers them, and what they need. You know, the world is becoming a much more competitive place.
Right.
And now the men are trying to catch up with the women who are looking younger, are having the skill set that men used to have in computers, technology, math. So men want to look great. They don't want to come to work, for example, with their tattoos on.
Yeah, so give me a couple examples of some of the top, we'll go through maybe the top 3 procedures that men usually come in to see. You mentioned tattoos, because
yes.
A lot of men in the workplace, the tattoos that if they're visible, are frowned upon.
Absolutely. In many occupations and many companies won't hire men or women where they have visible tattoos. So if a woman or a man wants to take off his jacket or even on their hands, they need these off to be employed.
And y'all have one of the best ways to do tattoo removal here in North Texas, correct?
That's right. We have a machine, it's called a PicoSure, and the advantage of a PicoSure, it works in picoseconds. And when you're taking off a tattoo, believe it or not, every second counts.
Wow, and look at those results, the before and after. And how many treatments does that generally take?
Generally 4 to 6, depending upon the person and depending upon where it is. But these are all, look at the difference and what you can wear. Even in women, it makes a big, big difference.
Now, something else that we were talking about was, you know, it's not just the injectables and the tattoo removal, but a lot of guys are getting liposuction these days.
Absolutely. You know, we're almost at the beginning of the summer. We're at the end of June, and people really want to get beach ready. As soon as all this rain stops, everyone's going to be out at the pools.
Exactly.
And we have not only surgical methods of liposuction, for example, Smart Lipo, we also have non-invasive ways to freeze the fat and have patients look better. So there's no downtime in some of these.
Where are some of those key areas that men generally come in and get it? Because they're different for women. The spots that kind of are men's hot spots versus women's are different.
They generally like the tummy and lateral
love handles.
And the love handles. Those are the most common areas for men, and some of them on the chin.
Okay. Now, another thing which is probably I would say the most common maybe, is the injectables, whether it's the Botox and the fillers. Talk about, men sometimes I think have a stigma about, I can't get Botox, but it's actually pretty common for men nowadays.
Well, you know, we hear all the time, people always tell me, I don't want injectables because I don't want to look like those certain people. But what they don't realize is it's all the people that they're seeing who have had injectables.
And they might not even know.
That they don't know. And that's the secret. Men are very concerned about going back to work and thinking, oh, I had injectables. So the idea is to go to someone who has experience that makes people look beautiful, natural, and no one will ever know.
Right, and it's not Botox for the guys, it's Brotox.
Brotox, right? You got it.
Now, one thing I think that we do need to mention that's really important is the affordability of all of these procedures. I think a lot of people maybe get nervous that they can't afford them and it doesn't fit into their budget.
Well, you know, there's a program for every patient. One thing is I've been in business over 30 years doing all this, so it's not necessary to do everything all at once. It can be done in stages. We're now offering a new finance program called Alpheon Finance, or Alfie credit. And with this, you can finance your procedures 6 months with no interest.
Wow.
So there's all sorts of programs for everybody, depending upon what they want.
And the best thing for someone to do if they are interested is obviously come in and do a consultation with you and with your team at Skintastic before. There, no pressure there, obviously.
Well, it's so. People don't know what they want or what can make them look better.
Right.
And the idea is to come in, let us look at you, give you a plan. We call it a wish list. And then we go down the wish list. Just yesterday, I saw 2 or 3 people who are working on a plan. They're at the second visit or third visit to accomplish what they want over time. And a lot of people don't want drastic change.
Right.
They want subtle change.
Subtle, minimal changes.
So they can go back to work or to their activities and say, oh, you look good.
Right.
No one overcatches it. And at the end of a couple of months, they say, wow.
Exactly. Well, you certainly are the best at what you do. I wouldn't trust my face with anyone else. And of course, you can find Dr. A at Skintastic's 2 locations in Dallas. To find the one closest to you, check out skintastic.com or call 972-620-3223. That number's on your screen. And if you have a question for Dr. A, on Fridays he's here, and we want you to ask Dr. A any questions that you may have about your skin or about any of the procedures that he does at Skintastic. And you can hit us up with Ask Dr. A on Facebook or on Twitter. Okay, coming up, when we return, we are going to catch up with Texas music artist Scott Dean, who's standing by in our Troubadour, Texas listening room. That's coming up next.